Welcome to the Practice You podcast. My name is Elena Brower. Together, we'll explore and enjoy content and conversations around mastering transitions in our relations, our wellness, our careers, our families, and especially in our missions and visions. You are invited to learn and love and listen with me. Welcome to Practice You. Welcome back to the podcast. This is a special one. My dear friend Quddus has now created Ally Now. This is kind of the conversation I've been waiting to have for quite some time. Quddus, welcome to the show. It is so nice to speak to you again.
So great connecting with you. You're like a warm hug. Every time I hear your voice, I'm like, oh, that's like a bath with Epsom salt, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, bless you. We met, I don't know, it has to be at least 8 or 9 years ago now at Summit.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember being so enchanted in your yoga class. I was like, who is this woman, this mystical woman, reading these amazing poems and ideas? And it was such a rich class, and I remember feeling so much better on the other side of it. So I was really grateful for you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really grateful for what you're creating here. I found Ally Now on Instagram. If you're listening to this, go to Instagram and put in ALLYNOW, Ally Now, and take a look at the vibe. Here is a boy who's really a man, but I love calling you a boy, who, because to me, you're like, I met you and my son was little and you and I took a car ride, I think, together.
That's right.
And I felt like I was taking care of you in the best possible way, like a big
Yeah,
sister.
I remember you were taking good care because I've been going through a pretty big transition. I'll just leave it at that. A big transition.
We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it right there.
We can talk more about it, of course, on this podcast.
Yeah, maybe we will. Let's see. But what I want to praise you for is the positivity and the forward momentum that your art and curation is creating, even on Instagram. Yes.
It's very sweet to hear that. Yeah, we've been doing a lot. It's been a lot. So to hear that, very validating, very, very helpful to hear that it's having that kind of impact.
So my listener, go ahead and pick up your phone or your computer and go to quddus.co, QUDDUS.co. Take a look at this boy. His face is, first of all, the picture on the front of your website is you at the, what's the festival called with all the colors?
Holy Festival.
Holy, of course.
Indian tradition. Beautiful, beautiful celebration.
Oh my goodness. What a great photo for the front of your website. I can barely handle it. So creative. You are, as the founder of Ally Now, you're also, and then of course there's a baby picture of you on the front of About Q, which I just died 1,000 deaths. Look at your face.
Oh, that's little Q. Little Q is having a good day that day.
Little Q, I just want to eat your cheeks. What are you doing with your little juice in front of you? Oh, you look like Jonah with the curl.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, the hat turned back and everything.
Totally. Listener, go to About Q on the Quddus page. You'll die. But don't play the video yet. You're listening. He's the founder of Ally Now. He's the coach of Breakthrough, which I'm definitely going to ask you about. And you're the host of the upcoming podcast, For the Culture.
Yes.
What track is that from, For the Culture?
I mean, it's so synonymous, right? It feels like it's part of every hip hop song I've ever heard. It's really
What song am I thinking of?
Gosh, it must be something from the 90s, maybe a Tribe Called Quest album, something like that.
It's got to be. There's something slow in my ear, and I'm like down in a club on Bleecker Street in the basement.
I love it. All those New York things were so classic.
Oh, God dang it.
I was just thinking about the parties we had back in the day. I remember meeting Q-Tip from a Tribe Called Quest in a club, and it was one of the best moments of the beginning of my career at MTV because all of a sudden I'm getting into these incredible parties, And there I am with Q-Tip from A Tribe Called Quest. He's my
Yes.
hero. And I'm like, dude, I just started at MTV. I don't know what I'm doing. I need your advice. I looked at him like, Luke Skywalker must have looked at Yoda in Star Wars, right?
Totally.
I was looking at
Totally.
it like, teach me your ways. And he goes, man, the best thing I can tell you is no matter how casual you think a choice is, when your wardrobe department wants to put this outfit on you, just know your integrity is always at stake. And the more you compromise the things that you really want, then you're going to chip away at this armor until you're a shell of yourself. That's what he said to me in this nightclub in New York City.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
That's some of the finest wisdom ever,
truly.
of ever.
Yeah.
No choice is casual. Oh my
I
good
mean, that level of
grief.
intentionality, I mean, it makes sense because every time I saw Q-Tip, he just radiated this power, this majesty, this regal quality while he was rapping his ass off. I said, what
Yes.
the hell is he on that I need to be
Yes.
on? And it's integrity.
That's right. That's right. Oh my God. That was just the best. Like, we could totally stop now, but we're not going to. We're definitely not going
I got
to.
a lot of stories where that comes from.
Ally Now was started in response to George Floyd's murder.
Yeah.
Um, and it's about turning cancel culture into compassion culture.
Hmm. Yeah.
Now, my listener pretty much knows my stance on most things. I'm not one to invoke conspiracy theories, definitely not. I am one to try and bring all the sides together, even if I don't agree. I'll bring all the sides together and be like, y'all, let's just find where we coincide.
Yes.
Let's do
Building
this.
bridges.
Building bridges. That's the first post you put up or something on Instagram? I went
Yep. That's
down.
what
I
it
went
off.
down deep.
I love it. I love that you did
Yeah.
your research. Yeah, that was the moment where I said, this is enough. We need to change. We need to change this culture.
Yes. And I feel very strongly that it's important to tell my listener that they can attend a live recording of your new podcast for the culture.
Yeah.
Is that still going on?
Yeah. Every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time, we gather on Zoom. We have group therapy moments. We have group coaching moments. We have guests, speakers, amazing community. So it's really great connecting about this stuff and navigating it together. Otherwise, it can feel very siloed in our little quarantine in the COVID
Yes.
era. So we really
Yes.
wanted to gather people and give people a place that feels safe, that feels loving, where we can start to connect some of these dots together.
Mm. And this came after you created your coaching program, which is called Breakthrough. And I wanted to hear a little bit about that because I after hearing your history at MTV, which actually we need to address first before we talk about Breakthrough.
We definitely could.
Um, MTV,
Yeah.
was that your first job out of school? Tell us about that. How, what happened?
That would be really, really mind blowing out of school. But no, I had a couple jobs, and I
Mm,
was VJ Search, Much Music, which is the MTV of Canada, had a VJ Search back in
mm.
2000. And I remember I was a DJ at the time on a campus radio show called Breakdown, actually. So now I'm doing Breakthrough, full circle. But yeah, back in the day, I was DJing, and it was a small radio show, and we played primarily hip hop, like Drop Call Quest and Nas and Biggie and all my favorites from back then. It was basically me and like a few of my friends listening.
Of course, Biggie was my favorite. I can't.
So
I
good,
can't
so
even. I
juicy. I
can't
mean,
even.
how good is Juicy? It was
The
all a
good
dream.
grief. I used to read. All I know is that I know every word to every song. They're all in the hard drive, and I don't want to. It's
Yeah.
hard for me now because now that I've learned the history of Black culture, capital B, and I understand what I was singing.
Mm, yeah.
I am brought to tears many times when I even Jay-Z's and Beyonce's song, fairly new. I mean, in the last few years where they're talking
Mhm.
about fuck a false arrest.
Yep.
What
Yep.
song is that?
Gosh, it's off the 444 album, isn't it?
Higher. All I know is when I listened to that most recently, I was just repotting plants. I had this song in my ears. My kid was in school in his room, and I was just like jamming. And all of a sudden, I finally listened to the words, and I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, it's pretty heartbreaking.
Now I understand. Like,
Yep. Yep.
wow. Anyway, back to where we were.
Oof. I
Back
mean,
to where we were.
I'm so glad that you're going there. I'm so
Ugh.
glad because, some people nowadays, it feels like are cooling off a little bit from the caring that we saw so much of. Like when Brother George died, man, it felt different. It hit different. People were talking about it and loving each other. And of course, then the rioting that happened, right? And then of course there was a different kind of narrative. And so
Yeah. Yeah.
there we were back in the trenches of our humanity, and we navigated the best we could. But I'm so glad that you're bringing the emotion to the table, because really that's what puts anything into motion. It's like, if I think about what got me in the door at MTV, it was that I allowed my emotion, so like to
Mm.
hear your voice quiver just now did my heart good. So thank you
Mm.
for caring.
I I'm really upset actually that I have so many really, fairly intelligent friends who are now holding on to this rioting word
Mm-hmm.
like it's some kind of flag.
Yeah.
And I'm sad about this every day. It makes me
Yeah.
sad every day. Every
Yep.
day. Like this is not that's not it's like talking about how some sort of semantics or how you're saying something versus what's being said. Like we're
Yep.
not dealing with that. We're dealing with what caused that.
Yep.
Can't
100%.
we just stay on topic?
Yep, it's a lot of chaos. The decentralization of media has its pros and it's got its cons, and everybody seems to have a megaphone and want to have an opinion before it's really informed. And as their emotions are running these triggers in them, and it skews our ability to perceive reality.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to go back to when you started at MTV. You were selected as a VJ.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
so
yeah.
yeah, so I was telling you about this Much Music VJ search, and that was like my first shot at anything really that big, and I ended up being a runner-up. And I'll never forget the cutaway. When
I got to kill somebody for that. That's ridiculous.
well, there was a lot of controversy about what Canada's vote was versus what the executives in the corner office had to say about the decision, because
Oh, interesting.
apparently in the poll I actually had more votes from the Canadian audience, and yet the executives, for whatever reason, chose this guy, Bradford Howe. And so obviously there's a lot to read into there. We won't go there. That's all speculative. But what I will
I'm
say is
annoyed.
that,
I'm still annoyed already. I'm annoyed.
I mean, it is what it is, and this is what we're all seeing now, that could have been potentially some form of racism at play. Anyway, the fact is, I knew in that moment of loss that there was something else. Anyway, I was like, ooh, there's something there for
Mm.
sure. The loss was hurt. It was pain. It was disappointment. It was a bit of embarrassment. I was the guy that almost won the VJ search. Right. I go back to my hometown, look at my wounds a little bit. First loser, right? And so
Mm.
anyway, it was a powerful lesson though in trusting intuition, because there was something nudging me along and saying, no, 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 you think that's good? We got something bigger for
Mm.
you. So it's been amazing. I mean, to see how it played out. I mean, my career launched with a really small show called Vox, which is Latin for voice, and it's really young. 60 minutes is the best way I could put it. We were the voice
That's
of
cool.
the youth, and so it was a really amazing show to start with, and get my bearings. Really understand how to write story,
Mm.
and relate and really connect dots, and all of it was amazing. I mean, I remember being painfully insecure, thinking I wasn't
Mm.
worthy. I hadn't gone to broadcasting school. I
Mm.
hadn't done enough. Right? This enough conversation. I think a lot of us have internally. I definitely
The
had one
worst.
real loud. Ooh, and it was really. I mean, I'll paint a scene for you. We were in an alleyway in downtown Toronto, and it was a very simple segment. It was a segment to introduce this piece, this segment that we had produced. So it was the segment of me introducing the segment we had produced about something. And it wasn't really even a loaded subject. It was actually a pretty simple introduction to the segment, right? So you can imagine me, so young. I was 19 years old at the time. And I'm in front of this camera guy and this producer. Her name's Maria Ferrano, and she is a saint. To this day, I will kiss that woman's feet. She is a saint. Because she stood there as I stammered through so many takes. Have you ever felt so incapable that you literally forgot how to function as a human being? Have you ever had that feeling?
Yes, sir.
Oh my God. It was
It
crippling.
happens at least once a day.
Thank God for yoga. Thank God for breathing deeper.
God for all of it.
Oh, all the tools. And so at that moment, I had no tools, but I did have Maria off to the side of the camera looking at me with all that sainthood shining through. And she gave me grace. She gave me grace. And I think
Wow.
that is something, when I think about the grace that people like Maria have shown me over the years, and people are struggling now, dealing with this allyship conversation, man, I'm just like, yo, I get it. I get it. We're all a little broken, actually. Will we really square off with it? We've all had some bruises along the way. Now, does that mean we identify as broken? Hell no. We're resilient, all of us. But it's just in that healing process that we get to really define who we are, and we get to stand on the right side of history or not.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I think there is a level of brokenness, and I feel like my listener knows this already, but if you're white and you're paying even the merest amount of attention, you now know how very broken your education was. You now know how very little you actually learned of the truth of the suffering that went on in the last several hundred years. And you also know how weirdly powerless it can feel sometimes when you earnestly want to do something as the right thing, as the good thing, as the fair thing. And somehow, I'm going to curse, some motherfucker comes tearing you down for doing what you feel like is right. And I'm not talking about in the Black community. I'm talking about the white community.
Yep. I get it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We can go there. I mean, listen, I've been no holds barred in this conversation. My gloves have been off. I've been
important
on some Braveheart shit with this because we're in a moment. We are in a moment. I think about America and I think about the rock bottom that we're in. Now, the beauty of rock bottom is you go to AA. You get some therapy.
That's right. My hope is that in conversations like this, we're providing people with that safe space just to listen and hear like how the healing is actually happening in real time.
Yep. Woo. It's really amazing because that's the beauty of things like this podcast is to have conversations that can actually function as healing moments for all of us to be able to, sit around the fire and talk about this. Like, this is what a podcast is ideally, right? Like we're sitting around the fire right now. Like, yo, this is happening over here. What's going on with you? Oh, fuck.
Yep. So after that, Vox happened. I don't want to cut too far, but you accomplished so much.
Well, thank you.
I'm looking at the coaching page. Listener, if you're still with me and you can get back online, go to the coaching page on Quddus.co, Quddus.co. Take a look at all the folks he's coached. I can't get over it. Lewis Howes. I mean, Amber Ray, the most beautiful. I love that girl. Daniel Di Piazza, Jesse Israel.
Those are my people.
These are your people. Like, these are badasses.
Truly.
And you have, to quote Daniel, you've elegantly assisted in helping him help himself. That's the true mark of a master coach. That's what's up.
Well, I'm about to. Oh wow, I'm literally brought to tears.
You should be. You should be. Look at you. Look what you did. Look what you did. You helped Jesse Israel. Jesse's one of my favorite humans. He's like my long lost brother. I don't speak with him nearly enough, but boy, do I love that kid. And Lewis Howes, Lewis Howes, he built the School of Greatness.
Yeah.
And you were his coach, bro. That's a big deal. I would love to sort of pick your brain about how how inspiring it's been for you to work with folks like this and just give them even the slightest, like, I have my two hands up like I'm making guardrails. You know what I mean? Just give them the slightest little guardrail and then boom, they
Yeah.
launch.
I mean, when we talk about Lewis, his story is really such a testament to why I thought this breakthrough program would be helpful for people, because I looked at what Lewis was doing at the time. It was great. He was just named one of the top 100 entrepreneurs by the Obama administration. So this man is already flying so high in his dream life. And then he went through a breakup, and that's when we connected. And he got to sharing about his breakup, and I got to listening deeply and thinking, you know what, maybe this workshop that I just did would help you. So I invited him to
Wow.
the workshop,
Mm.
and it was a really powerful experience. And it's so confidential, the process, it's very sacred, really. And getting to steward and support his process, it was one of the greatest things I've ever seen, because he took it on like a champion. I mean, he was like Michael Jordan in the fourth quarter, you know what I mean? Like dynasty level
Yeah.
intensity and concentration, and everything was intentional.
Flying, literally flying across the court from the 3-point line to the net.
Yep, yep. He was a sight. You know, I was like bearing witness to greatness, and I was so honored and humbled to be a part of it in whatever way I got to be a part of it. So Lewis was
Wow.
really like the benchmark for what I started to understand as the modern day hero's journey. You know,
Mm.
talk about Joseph Campbell, right? And
Mm.
that hero's journey, it required a humbling, it required a vulnerability, it required what Lewis did when he shared about how he was molested as a child.
Mm.
And it blew open the doors between us online, right? Like, so I'm imagining his
Mm.
audience all of a sudden seeing a fully expressed human being in all of the humanity that we all have. And it creates a different connection. And then it's a different conversation, you know? And that's where I saw, you know what? Okay, if I can support other people to have this journey without some of the pain I went through in figuring out what my hero's journey has been, I'm still in the process. And so that's really what it's amounting to now, is like this real desire to support. You know how it is. I mean, as you
I
discovered
do.
yoga and you got the benefits of yoga, it became something that you felt called. Like it was not even a question. It was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
this is a yes.
Mm-hmm.
It felt really good. It felt good to lean into it and honor that, and be the bridge for other people too. You know, had some great mentorship. Nothing like
Yeah.
mentorship in this day and age.
Favorite mentor? I mean, let me not say favorite. Most impactful that comes up right in this second, even though that might not be the actual truth. The most impactful for you right now.
Oh wow, this is a heartbreaking one, because we actually had a bit of a falling out recently.
Wow.
So I'll just go ahead and honor who he really was to me. And despite this falling out, I still think of him as my Yoda. This man
Mm.
poured a lot into me when I was developing, when I come out of some leadership trainings and gotten basically invited by him to do a facilitator and training program. That was a really incredible 6 month journey. And then I ended up doing another year-long training to be a facilitator with another mentor. And they had a bit of static between them. And so it was really interesting to like get into the trenches of developing how to facilitate self-development, and notice that we're all still human. We're all still walking with our 2 feet on the ground, not
Of
levitating yet.
course.
So,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
very humbling moments along the way. And gosh, what he taught me was consistency. Like he showed up consistently,
Mm.
very, very intense. He's the type of guy that facilitates leadership trainings 3 weeks out of the month on the road, delivering, facilitating breakthroughs of the highest degree for people, right? So he's full on. He's a walking Jedi, you know?
Wow.
And he poured a lot into me. he looked at me as his protege and wanted to partner with me and all of it. And it was a deeply honoring thing. And I still was in the question of whether it was mine to do or whether it was his vision more than mine. And so it's that whole part of being in relationship with people, right? It's like projections, and to the degree that we buy into the projection, then maybe we're in an alternate reality that we don't want to be in, when push comes to shove. So I ended up weaning off of the teat of sweet trainings and coaching and all of that stuff that, in a sense, kind of bubbled me a little bit from reality. And then I decided it was time to pop out, and that was where we fell out, because Michael wanted to continue our working relationship. And I mean, I definitely, yeah, I want to have a partnership, potentially in self-development, but that just wasn't it. That wasn't the fit. So it's a lot to share, because I'm processing in real time. Like, this is actually a really live thing for me. So thank you for listening so deeply.
I feel like there comes a time, as a mentor of other people, there does come a time where planning for my own obsolescence is actually the wisdom.
I love that. I love that.
You
Tell me
know,
more about that, because the way I see it, I mean, that's mastery.
look, we're all going to die. And if your mentor can't hang with the fact that it's time for you to move on, then, I mean, lest I be presumptuous, but that's like points to a fear of death.
Mm.
I feel like if a person I'm mentoring is ready to move on, I probably will know it before they will. But blessings,
Hmm.
as they do in Turkey, like throw the water after the departure, like flow freely.
Hmm. Yeah, that's how
Beautiful.
I look at it. Yeah, I think it's interesting, because to invest in someone and to have expectations around that we discussed. I mean, when I look at the guts of it, right, I get what you're saying. It's like, absolutely yes. And I really, really always work on seeing it from his perspective. I think about it almost every day. There's not a
Mm,
day that goes by that I'm not a little sad, because he
mm,
wasn't just a mentor to me. He was a friend, and a brother. And we went through quite a bit together. And, he, gosh, I mean, he and I literally were in the trenches of leading, training, facilitating, coaching these programs that supported people like Lewis Howes to build the School of Greatness. People like Preston Smiles, another
mm.
incredible
Yeah,
badass. And
yeah.
so we journeyed together. We did some tours of really digging deep with people. And it's one thing to have a coaching program, but it's also a thing to like fly out to his hometown for his 50th birthday party, And so there's like layers that I'm still
Yeah,
unpacking. So
yeah.
I'm just really grateful for podcasting right now, because this conversation feels
Mm.
like the kind of therapy I've needed for months, actually.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We can talk after this. There's no stopping us from that. I just feel like, when it's time to let something go, the mastery of which you spoke is just being very willing to let it go when it's run its course.
Absolutely. Amen to that. Yep. I'll definitely toast to that. I'll toast some kombucha
Amen.
to that later. I mean, truly, I'm just blown away at the healing properties of human connection. Like, just this conversation, just you and I
Yes.
being present with each
Yes.
other, right? And whoever's listening, right? Cheers to like being present
Cheers.
and doing what we're here to do. But now, gosh, the technology is so tempting all the time. And
I
boom.
know. I
Oh,
know. Look, the bottom line is you just showed up in a really cool way. You said what you needed to say without disparaging him or denigrating your relation in any way. You held the space real nice,
mm,
really nicely, and you created an opportunity to honor this person rather than focus on the recent whatever negativity or anything ill will related.
mm.
And that is where I'm going to start highlighting who you are and what you're becoming.
Hmm.
Breakthrough is your coaching program, and I want to talk about it. I want my listener to understand what it is. I
Hmm.
want more of us to be exposed to teachers of color.
Hmm.
My listener's predominantly white. I have no, you know, that's just what's up.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that this is well fleshed out for us here. So
Sure.
talk to us about what this is, how it
Hmm.
came about, when it's starting again, and when it's starting the time after that, just in case this podcast gets released after it's already begun.
Yeah, so it's been a journey. It's been a real journey, and it feels like the work of a lifetime putting together this program. And it truly feels like it's the mixtape of all of my greatest mentors, all of their greatest exercises, all of the greatest tools, all of the greatest philosophies, all of all of that. I decided I'd literally treat it like I used to treat all the greatest songs of the 90s, and I'd put it together in a mixtape. That's how I started as a DJ, and the same thing holds true as a facilitator. I just look at all this wealth of wisdom and incredible processes and experiential journeys for people that
Mm.
will create a quantum leap in who they are in the world. And I've gotten to experience that as a receiver, and I was like, oh God, this is too good. This is too good. I need to share this. And so I went about, apprenticing for years and really taking it seriously,
Mm.
and learning the craft of coaching. Because I think there's a lot of business coaching that I see. I'm like, okay, yeah, well, what about the craft though? And so I basically decided I'm going to take some time and really take what's been so intuitive in a lot of ways, like patchworking all of these different processes together into this mixtape, but really take some time to put together a framework that makes it really simple. It's like a map. When we have a map, it's easier to get from point A to point B. And so I've come up with something called the Breakthrough Blueprint, which is essentially a 4-step process that takes us through what we need to create our next breakthrough, whatever it is. It's amazing how it's like sometimes, the things that are universal, when you put on some drums, there's not a
Mm-hmm.
lot of human beings that aren't going to bob their head to it. It's kind of the same
Mm-hmm.
with this framework where basically I've applied it to a couple different programs that I've led, whether it's Camera Ready when I was doing that with my now ex-wife and ex-facilitator, ex all the things. And so that was like a really dynamic learning of that in a context of media training, right? On the surface level, Camera Ready was a media training. We worked from the inside out with people to really find their true voice, and to really own their story. And so that was one iteration of this framework. So that just gives you a little bit of a backstory on it and how
Yeah.
we found it incredibly effective. And so I'll take you through the steps if you want right now.
I would love to go through it. I know my listener would. And I love how the realest larger offerings always stem from a very intimate first foray, I feel.
Well, it definitely was the case because we were
Yeah.
very intimate. We were very intentional about who we invited. So people like Jesse Israel were in the room,
Oh,
and it
wow.
was a really unique group of people. I mean, I felt like I don't know if you're into movies like X-Men, but it kind of
For
felt
sure.
like the school for the gifted. I looked around and I saw
Yes.
whoever else was in the training. It was Amber
Oh.
and all of
Mm.
these brilliant souls that trusted us as facilitators of their breakthroughs and being on
Beautiful.
camera, and it was really really special. And so that was where I really cut my teeth as a facilitator and realized this framework. So I'm really excited to share it because it's something that's so simple, right? Like again, it's a mixtape. It's really a distillation, a simplification of things that have been around. So I'm just the DJ here.
So
Yeah.
cool.
So
So
yeah,
cool.
so step one is taking inventory, because for any given breakthrough we're thinking about having, right? Like whether it's maybe it's you that's on the verge of a divorce, right? And you got to really take inventory before making the choice that's really good for you. It's like looking around and saying, okay, before I go off of feeling, what I think is my intuition or some advice I just got, I'm going to really check in. I'm going to do the internal inventory, I'm also going to do the external inventory. I'm going to make it as scientific. I'm going to make this spiritual. I'm going to look at all of it, because then I'll have no regrets. No regrets. So that's that inventory. So that's step one. You with me?
Totally.
Okay.
The fact of no regrets is actually one of the main premises on which I work and teach,
Mm-hmm.
because there was no mistake. You didn't get the VJ job, you got Vox, and you went from there to do this. Like, this might not have happened had you gotten that stupid VJ job.
By the way, we still got to get to how I actually got my job at MTV. Maybe that,
Oh yeah.
I'll weave it in. I'll weave it in. Here we go. I'll weave it in. So,
Weave it
so,
in.
so let's use it as an example. My inventory at that moment, right, coming off of being the runner-up in the VJ search, then being at Vox, and then having this friend of mine from my hometown in Canada, Ottawa, this guy Ben Barry, reach out and say, "Listen, I've seen what you've been doing with Vox, and I want to share it with my aunt. She's a senior agent at the William Morris Agency. It's one of the most powerful talent agencies in the world, and
Dang.
she represents Whitney Houston. She represents Alicia Keys. I mean, this woman was a titan in Hollywood." So my friend Ben Barry is talking about his aunt. Meanwhile, I don't know. I have no idea what William Morris is. I don't know, half the people he's referencing, but I do now. So anyway,
Yeah.
I was very open, and I had a moment where I was just coming off reading this powerful, oh wow, this book changed my life. It's called Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh.
Of course.
Book one. Oof.
Of
Wow,
course.
that touched me deeply. And I was in so much possibility. And so when Ben mentioned this possibility, I was open. And I said, "Okay, what do you need?"
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Well, if you can put together a reel of what you've done, whether it's the VJ search or Vox, I'll send it over to her." So I put together a reel. I worked my ass off with an editor. I learned how to edit in the process. And I put together a
Wow.
reel, sent it to him. He sent it to his aunt. She was, very busy with Whitney Houston and all the other people she was representing. So she didn't get around to it for months. But guess what? Ben kept checking on her, kept asking, "Hey, Auntie, have you listened or watched this reel with this guy?"
Bless him.
Yes. Yeah, bless his heart.
Oh
He
God.
was such a follow through champion, and I feel like that's really the game in
It
life.
is
Is
the game, no matter what you're doing. It's no
Yep,
matter if it's for you or for somebody else. That kid needs a bouquet of flowers.
yeah, I want to send it to him ASAP. Now that I'm thinking about
Something.
it,
Some
yep, made a big.
chocolate, something.
Yep, he's another one of those angels. I look for these
Yeah.
angels that come in and they really have a certain quality. Like it's an energy, right? Like every
Yes.
person that's made a big difference with me, they've come in with seemingly no agenda, and the only agenda is, what? Let's jam. Let's figure out how we can build with each other. Like that to me is the attitude of everybody I'm referencing right now. Like Ben Barry, like that guy, man, what a champ. So yeah, big high five to Ben. Hopefully listening to this, feeling acknowledged, because he went on to write best-selling books and successful
Mm.
company that
Mm.
disrupted fashion and broke through diversity in fashion years before all this stuff was going on this past couple of
I need to
years. So,
speak to him too.
yeah, he's a pioneer. He's a pioneer, and he saw it. He was the one. He saw it in me before I saw it in me. And he was young too. Like that's the thing. Age ain't nothing but a number, is what Aaliyah said. And he
Right.
was young, and he was blazing trails. So shout out to Ben, all the people that make
Shout
that
out to
kind of.
Ben and Aaliyah.
Aaliyah was an angel. I remember we did a music video after she passed, and they asked me to do a cameo in it. And
Mm.
it's interesting because I never even got a chance to meet Aaliyah. We had
Mm.
passed, ships passing in the night kind of thing, and then she passed, and apparently she was somebody that was a fan of mine, and so her family, I guess, asked me to come on that basis. So there I am on the set, feeling really inadequate to be there. I was like, I've never even really hung out with Aaliyah, but there I was. So, I mean, DMX came in, Swiss
Wow.
Beat, it was everybody, and we all had this moment. It was like this somber moment. I remember that was probably one of my first experiences where I experienced collective sadness
Yeah.
to the degree that we're experiencing some of that now. Like we're looking at how many people have died of COVID-19 in America, right? There's like this
Mm-hmm.
pervasive sadness. I'm like, God, we are in the midst of a genocide.
Yeah.
against Black people.
Yeah.
That's right in front of our eyes.
Right in front of our
Thankfully we have these
eyes.
iPhones. Now we can see
Literally.
it. Like it's been there. It's been there. Emmett Till. I mean, it goes on and on and
Can't.
on and on and on. I mean, it's something I don't want to talk about anymore. I don't want to talk about it, but we gotta keep leaning in, or we're gonna
No,
lean
no, no.
out.
We cannot stop. We cannot stop. Too many folks actually don't believe that this is a problem. Smart people
Yeah, it's a cognitive
are.
dissonance.
It's cognitive dissonance. It's disinformation. It's misinformation, and we're so off topic. But just one thing I want to say: it's a whole slew of folks who have either been abandoned or abused at some point in their life, and they are finding a familiar resonant zone with the current Cheeto president.
Yeah,
That's what's happening.
it's wild.
I'm
It's
done.
wild.
End of rant.
You
End
know
of
what?
rant.
Yeah, and listen. I mean, we talk about politics, but it's not even politics anymore. It's human rights. It's a
It's
human rights violation.
and what you said on your Instagram. Human rights are not
Partisan.
partisan.
Yep.
Damn
I'm
it,
like
guys.
moved. I'm moved to tears when I see Jacob Blake happen.
Oh
You know,
God.
I hear about Breonna Taylor. I mean, this is
Still
inhumane.
no arrest. Still no. Just money.
No arrest,
No
just
arrest. Just
money.
money. Money. So dirty.
Yeah, it's dirty money. Until we
Ugh,
get the arrest, it's dirty money. It's like this.
dirty.
It's symbolic of performative allyship at its
At its
finest.
highest level.
Yep. Gotta call it what it is. I mean, listen, like I think some people get so backed up in conversations like this that they're not even willing. Like the thing is to admit to the level of blind spot that we've all been living in. I mean, I say all because I'm half white as well. I'm half black and I'm half white. And I've been in some very privileged lanes in life. And I still am to this day. And I'm looking around, I'm saying, I see
Mm.
no indication of any racism in my atmosphere. But I'm seeing my brothers and sisters now on a whole nother level. I mean, listen, we didn't have the film that we have on George Floyd getting killed like that. I mean, Rodney King, yes, we could look at a couple different, I mean, Ahmaud Arbery, I thought was it. I thought it can't get any worse than this, but goddamn, when I saw George Floyd, I was like, oh, no, no, no. I mean, this man's crying for his mother for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Oh my God. When I saw that, I said, this is it. This is it. If this ain't the tipping point, I don't know what the fuck is.
Anyone alive who sees that and says that that is okay has suffered from abuse.
Probably.
That's what's up.
Probably. Yep. Hurt people. And people who have not been exposed to the type of situations that Black people have been exposed to will, of course, not really truly get it. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way. I mean, listen, a lot can happen with the imagination. A lot can happen. But when it's a visceral experience, I mean, I was talking to a friend of mine. He got gunpoint from police officers at 8 years old. He didn't have anything on him that would warrant that sort of hostility, but he got it from those cops when he was 8 years old.
A tiny boy.
Yep. Yep. It's traumatic. It's deeply traumatic. I had an incident in my high school, and I don't talk about this a lot. And this actually didn't really get registered as trauma until last year during my divorce and everything was blown up. I was in therapy every damn day and uncovered this beauty, which was a moment in a lunchroom cafeteria. It was lunch hour at high school. I was sitting there with my predominantly brown and Black friends, and we were doing what we always do at lunchtime. We were catching up about what happened that morning. I had an assignment that I was a little late on, so I was getting some last minute work done on it as everyone was recounting their mornings and talking whatever. We were talking kind of barbershop style. And then my friend Tammy, amazing human being, kind, Haitian brother, sat right in front of me and shared about this Asian kid that he had seen earlier in the day across the hallway as he was taking his books out of his locker. he looks up and he sees this Asian kid, and the Asian kid's looking at him crazy. And the Asian kid says, "What are you looking at?" Right? Aggressive. And Terry looks at him like, "Yo, you're looking at me. I'm just taking my books out of my locker." The Asian kid goes, "Oh yeah, we'll see. We'll see what's up." Right? So Terry's now in this lunch room setting with us and telling us about what happened earlier in the day. And then this kid comes up to our table. Like, the timing was almost like a fucking movie. The kid comes up like right on cue as Terry's finishing his story about earlier in the day. The kid.
And the last words that were said were, "We'll see what's up."
Yep. We'll see what's up. So then this kid is standing above our table with a trench coat on, a black trench coat. I'll never forget it.
No.
And before I knew it, he pulled out a machete.
No.
And he stabbed Terry in the neck.
What?
And thank God Terry didn't die. He didn't die, but it was so fucked up. It was so fucked up. The whole lunchroom went crazy, and we all started scrambling, and Terry was bleeding on the floor.
Oh.
We didn't know what was happening, whether he was going to make it. And it was really fucked up. So that's the type of shit that we're trying to solve. We're trying to solve for that with Ally Now and these conversations that we're having, because it breaks my heart when I see Breonna Taylor not get justice, Jacob Blake, Elijah McClain, George Floyd. The list goes on and on and on. And we lived, right? We didn't go that route, and yet now we've got, as my therapist last year refers to, my complex childhood trauma. I'm like, okay, well, to me, that's a spiritual assignment. And so I see it in the spiritual lens too. I see this as our dark night of the soul. And we're getting to reckon with all of it. We're facing off with all of it.
It's a massive reckoning.
Yep, it is. I call it the Great Awakening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Seriously, let us pray, honestly.
Yeah, I would love to.
Honestly, how anyone could deny the truth of that.
Yeah, it's happening. It's happening. There's people that are still looking up George Floyd's background and wondering what he had in his system. Listen, it is genocide to not give people the benefit of the doubt, to not allow for due process, to put a knee on a man's neck when he was no threat. It's just not okay. It's not okay. Not on my watch. And I know not on your watch.
No.
It's amazing, it's amazing the level of compassion that some people have. I don't want to harp on folks that aren't showing up with their whole heart, but I do want to celebrate the people that are showing up. And like, oh man, this Ally Now community blows me away, because I mean, it's a lot to carry sometimes, and I was starting to really carry more than my share, and really feel like my back was breaking and I didn't have it in the tank. And then I'm on the phone with somebody on the Ally Now team, and they sensed it. They were like, "Oh, he's taking the sword. Why am I so emotional today? God damn. Oh, fuck."
It's cute. It's beautiful. It's important. You're being heard, and it's time for all of us to hear what this is and what it feels like.
It's a lot. I mean, it's something that does feel like it's way bigger than me. So at this point, I'm surrendered to it. I'm a steward of it, and I'm just happy to be along for the ride. Like, that's the whole context that I come from with it. And so I'm just clear that I'm here to serve, and whatever that looks like, I'm showing up. But sometimes there's moments where it's a steep learning curve. Yes, and it's really like a landmine field at times, because people's emotions are so on the table, and it really distorts reality sometimes. I know sometimes when I get upset, I do not hear what is being said. I just don't. Right. So it's like this bridging that gap, and constantly being the bridge. It's sometimes very intense, and I think everyone who's been on my Instagram, who's been
Mm.
sharing and affirming these thoughts that I'm having about this. And like, I mean, I just saw a post that I made yesterday. It was shared out. Over 50,000 people have seen this thing overnight. And I'm like, okay, wow, just when I didn't have it in the tank. I mean, I was literally on my breaking point with this. I was like, people are just not starting to really care anymore. We were
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
moment where, oh, it's not a trend anymore. The media isn't picking it up like
That's
we
right.
were.
That's right.
Breonna Taylor still doesn't have justice, and we're still getting killed out in these streets.
Yeah. I can't thank you enough for bringing all of this to the forefront. Again, I think it's of the utmost importance that we continue to talk about it so that it doesn't get lost.
Thank you for being such an amazing listener and holding all of this because this was a lot. This was a lot.
But we still haven't even gotten to step 2 in breakthrough, homie.
Oh God! Thank God you're keeping track of this because I'm going off in tangents here. You can just
No, but
title
we
this.
we we both did. Who cares? We both did. What's important is that the things got said.
Oof,
That's the
my goodness.
key.
Yes, yes. And it's beautiful to just be in the jazz. Like I love just
Right.
being in the jazz in this. So okay, step two though is like and very appropriate in the sense that we just covered the ground that we did because actually in this whole journey, I've gone from having one identity to another. I have a different identity. I identified as this TV host who wasn't particularly political or impactful in the social space. I had a lot of friends who were very impactful people who I would support and show up to for events and such. We have these gatherings, and I'd hear about their amazing activism and always think,
Mm,
God, if I was only smarter, if I was only
right.
more courageous, if I was only more whatever, dot, 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 right? Fill in the blank. And so there I was adjacent to activism. And then all of a sudden, it's in my heart. So I'm standing on the shoulders of the women who organized the Women's March. These are these are friends in this community that I'm in. It's such a privilege to be shoulder to shoulder with these people and learn from them. And now it's like, oh, tag, I'm it.
Mhm. Mhm.
My identity needed to catch up. It needed an update.
Mm.
And so there it is. Step two is identity and really shifting an identity if necessary. So if maybe there's something disrupted in your business because of COVID-19 and now your business isn't what it used to be for whatever reason, right? And now it's a moment to either identify as that and let it tear you in agony for however many months you need to get back on your feet, or start right now and say, you know what? I was actually thinking about starting my own business anyway, right? Because most people,
Right.
we have ideas. We might be sitting in some cubicle for too long, but we have ideas. And oh, maybe after this cubicle, I'll go somewhere, do something else. Well, tag, you're it. That's it now. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, how do we do that? We get to shift our identity.
Right.
So that's step two.
So taking inventory, shifting your identity. Step 3.
Step three is now with that new identity is a whole new platform. It's a whole new place to come from, point of view. So with that, what's the intention now? What's the goal?
Yeah, right.
What's the new
Where
summit?
where do you want to take it? I got it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm getting on my Tony Robbins stuff over here. It's really getting passionate over here. I'm excited because I feel like step
As you
four
should.
is I mean it really is where the rubber meets the road, and
Right.
where all that self development becomes beyond the self, and
Right.
actually impacts another. Right, where that intention intersects with step four is in the giving, is in really being committed to making a difference and making an
Mm.
impact. And that's step four. So we got inventory, identity, intention, and finally, thank God, impact.
Wow. It's perfect.
It's very simple.
It's very simple. It has to be simple, though. It has to be simple. For people to have a complex structure, they'll never finish the program. If they have a simple structure, they can find their own, voice in it.
That's it. That's
It's like
exactly
a
it.
good it's like a good poem.
It is. It's all in the crafting of almost a rhythm, right? Like I think about it like a song and how with all the great songs, we need to build. We need to build. We can't just come in on the climax. I mean, we could talk about impact, but if we haven't cleared out, cleaned up what we need to clean
Mm,
up in the inventory
mm.
process, we're not going to be ready to make the impact we can make if we did that work.
That's right. That's right. It's beautiful. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's an honor hearing it from you. You're quite the curriculum designer yourself, aren't you?
I live for designing curricula. Oh my God. My Simplify course is like my favorite thing ever. And when you said it's a mixtape of all the influences, I was like, oh, damn, that's genius. Exactly. I'm just picturing myself like 10, 12, 13 years old in front of the boombox with two cassettes, just sitting there with all of my focus, you know,
Yes, yes,
making
yes. That's
sure.
it. Oh, that was it back in the
Sweet.
day. I mean, making a mixtape. Oh, it was my greatest joy. I remember I was not a
Ah,
great basketball player, but I would make a great mixtape for our warm up before the game every
that's
time.
right. That's right. And then, you know what? I took it a step further and I would go to magazines and I would pull out really pretty magazine pictures. And then I would cut the magazine picture in the shape of the cassette paper insert. So the cover would be something radical,
Yep, I
like
love
a
it. That's
collage.
so
Oh my
great.
God. I was
Yes.
out of control.
Oh, the nostalgia. Oh my God. I mean, I really am about to write this memoir after many
You
years
have to.
doing much to do it. And there's
Have
these
to.
stories like the beginning of Total Request Live over there for me. And like all of it was so crazy. And like sometimes I'll be sharing these stories with like my friend John. I don't want to drop names. He's a very great director. And John was like, dude, this is it. He's like, yeah, these are the scenes. These scenes get to be told and shared. And so anyway, I'm excited because I.
No, absolutely. You need to. I'm already seeing the film. I'm already sitting in the seat watching the film.
Oh, well, to your credit, I mean, it's things like yoga that honestly have cleared the path for me to be able to have
Yeah.
even these thoughts, like they're new thoughts because my system is in a different place. I don't know how many yoga classes you're giving now. I mean, yeah, I know you do a lot beyond yoga, but God, when I think about you and yoga and like the way you deliver it, it's such a
Mm,
beautiful way of setting the table, to layer in philosophy that really helps frame up life in a powerful way. I was like, wow, this is a thoughtful woman. This is a thoughtful yoga teacher. And it's like not preachy. You just kind of you lay the idea out and you say, yeah, sit with that. Be with that. You know what I mean? That was my
yep.
sense of you. Is that something that is it consistent for you?
Absolutely. I am setting the table. I put the food out. People can eat or not. You want to
I
put
mean,
some salt and pepper on it? Rock it.
yeah.
You like ketchup? You like yellow mustard or Dijon mustard? Put it on. What are you doing?
Choose your own adventure, baby. Yep, I love it. That's it.
Maybe you like mayo better.
There's so much ownership in that experience, right? Giving people space. It's like, oh, they can fill the space with who they are without having to edit or wonder whether this is the right or wrong way to do it. It's just, it is.
It's a good poem. Again, it's a good poem where it's so personal that
Yep.
it's universal.
Oof. That's it. Wow. This was poetic. I love this. Oh my God. I'm so grateful for you.
You're the best. Okay. I think we hit all the points that I really wanted to hit.
Oh, the
Um,
way I got in the door at MTV, though. Gosh,
yes,
that's
please fill us in. Yes,
the grand
that's a
finale. Okay,
must.
so there I was in New York City after the aunt of my friend Ben Barry got the notion to finally watch this DVD that had basically been a coaster on her desk waiting to be watched for months. I mean, it was like 6 months. Finally, she watches it and she calls Ben right away. She's like, next time he's in New York, I want him to meet with one of the junior agents over there, right? Like fresh out of the mailroom internship, like the first rung of agents. So I'm
Right.
like, okay, sounds great. Whatever. It sounds great. So I happened to be in New York City on a modeling gig. So I was doing some modeling back in the day. I was a DJ, but I was also this model. And so there I was in New York. And sure enough, it was the moment. It was the moment. Tag. I was it. I was walking in the William Morris agency in Midtown, New York. Oof. And it was a moment. I remember looking around the lobby and like, oh, do you know those Midtown buildings in New York that are just so
Like
glorious?
Madison Avenue or something?
Oh yeah, right, right, yeah, Sixth Ave, and like 48th Street, I want to say, and
Yep.
this
Yep.
massive lobby. It looked like a scene from a freaking Quentin Tarantino movie, or better, it was like a freaking Peter Jackson movie, whatever. Gorgeous. I walked through the lobby.
It's across from Rockefeller Center. I'm right there.
Exactly.
Standing
Yep.
there.
So
Yep.
there I am. I'm going up the elevator. I walk into his office. this guy, Kenny Goodman. He's such a New Yorker. He's got so much swagger. He's this junior hotshot agent, right? He's like so much swag. And so we sit down, we talk, we have a great time. It's 5 minutes into the conversation, and he goes, "You know, you're perfect for MTV. I'm going to get you in there before you leave town. I'm going to get you in there." He gets on the phone right away, right in the office as I'm in the meeting. He gets on the phone, calls this guy, Scott Venner, who's over at MTV in the talent development department, says, "You got to meet this kid. He's from Canada. He's only in town for another day and a half. You got to see him tomorrow." So he goes, "Okay, all right." Okay, so the next day, I get into this guy's office at MTV. As I'm walking through the hallways of MTV, it's the coolest thing I've ever been a part of. I mean, it's like this dim club lighting. There's all these cool storytelling producers and writers, and it was like the hub of pop culture at the time. To be on Total Request Live was like the holy grail of being an artist.
I remember that. This is early 2000, no?
Yeah, yeah. It was 2001 when I got in the door, and there I am in the office of this talent development guy named Scott Venner, who's gone on to do so many cool things. Music supervisor for Entourage on HBO. So when you hear those amazing songs, that's
Dang.
Scott Venner, right? So Scott's
Wow.
got great taste. This is a little nudge to what he ended up doing with this meeting. But so I'm sitting there with Scott, and Scott is a poker player who actually has a poker face in real life. So he's sitting there. I have no idea how I'm doing in this meeting. I think I'm tanking because my internal conversation is so insecure. I'm not really sure I'm doing, but you know what? I'll be excited. That's what I know to do. I'll get enthusiastic about the things I'm excited about, and I'll talk about that. And at least I'll be representative of what I really care about. And then I can walk away feeling like I didn't completely train wreck that opportunity because I was myself.
Of course.
So I did that. And at one point, Scott looks at me, still deadpan, looks at me and he goes, "So why do you want to be a VJ on MTV?" And I looked at him and I swear this is what I said. I go, "Well, because I love music and I can't sing like Maxwell. So this is the next best thing."
Dang.
And he,
So sweet. So earnest.
so
So
earnest.
earnest.
Oh my God. Do you remember Maxwell?
Yeah. Like
It was awesome.
Maxwell, D'Angelo. Can't sing like those guys, but I can
Oh,
talk.
yeah. I mean, it was a moment, right? Listening to that kind of music. My God. So anyway, so there I am, just being real, just being really real, letting my excitement be nerdy as it wanted to be. And my arms were flailing around. When you get so excited, you're like, "Yo, I'm freaking bop, bop, bop." It's all of that.
Yes. Yes.
So it was like the height of joy. I was like, joy boy. Talking about boy. Joy boy was definitely on fuego that day. But hey,
Mm.
I didn't see myself the way that others saw me at the time. I didn't think I was good enough no matter what I did. So coming away from the meeting, oh my God, I thought I tanked. So I went back to Canada with my tail between my legs, so I thought. And then the next day, right, I'm back to work at Vox, and I'm doing my thing, and we film a segment, and then I come back home, and I'll never forget it. I'm in my bedroom, the phone goes off, and it's Kenny Goodman in New York City, and he goes, "Hey." They weren't even looking for a VJ. They weren't. They were just not even interested in really making much of your meeting other than the video of you that went around the building. And now the whole executive team is on board with hiring you as a VJ.
Oh my God.
So I was like, I literally had
Oh
a
my
lack
God.
of words, and I was speechless. And I mean, it was the moment that changed my life.
Of
And I remember
course.
things were never the same. I went to do this beach house in Key West, Florida, where I had a really wild ride, which, I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. I don't know how long we got here, but it's like definitely a very crazy chapter in the book that I'm writing right now about just how, I mean, it's about a lot of things, but
Wait, hold. I definitely saw episodes of you doing that show.
oh, yeah, yeah, TRL.
Do you know
Yeah.
why? Because I remember That was a time in my life when I was smoking a lot of dope,
Mm.
and I would watch
What kind of
just
dope?
marijuana. I was like completely addicted to marijuana every single day of my life until
I love
6
weed.
years ago.
It's the best.
But oh my God, did I have so much fun? And I watched a lot, let's say, an FT of that beach house show. I don't even know why. It was like watching. I don't even know what I was doing. Like I just remember. I now remember that I saw your face there.
Wow. Okay. Do you remember what your thoughts were?
I can't remember my thoughts. I know I was stoned out of my mind, and I know I used to watch that show with some frequency, but it's now all coming back to me now. You said beach house, and all of a sudden I'm seeing all those kids.
Yep.
You know, it's like talk about pre-COVID, like all those
Woo.
kids.
Yo, we
Whoa,
had such a good time. Oh my God.
I'm
We were all
sure
half naked all the time and
all the
had
time.
everything. We had everything we wanted and needed. Music, we had beer, we had weed, we had beach, we had, oh, it was glory. It was
Mm,
glory.
mm. Such a moment in history.
But I was insecure as fuck, and that's really why
Yes,
that's why I've dedicated my life to coaching, because that is a bridge for people who really need some support. We all do at times. I needed some
that's right.
support that
That's right.
particular summer, and thank God I got it. And so yeah, of course, I'm excited for the breakthrough program and getting back into
Mm-hmm.
the coaching and
Mm-hmm.
having this podcast come out that we've been working on with this journey of allyship and all the conversations we've recorded. So it's going to be a social experiment, really, in actually being able to listen into the making of a movement. So it's really been a journey of lots of learning and lots of big learning curves.
Yeah.
And to take people along for the journey is really been something else. It's been really powerful. So I'm so glad we could talk and talk about all of this and unpack it, and I could
Mm.
cry and just, oh, you're a blessing. You're a blessing.
So are you. I want to just say one thing that if you, my listener, listening, please make sure that you look at and follow, if you choose, Ally Now on Instagram, because the information that's coming through Q at this time is not going to be accusatory, nor will it be preachy. It will just be from the heart what could be a really good way to approach this very needful moment in our history with care and also with precision and with grace.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's been an honor.
Thank you.
It's
Really,
a
thank you so much.
blessing. You're a blessing, and the listener. I love how you've been referring to the listener. Thank you, and
Yes,
I would love to build more bridges with you too.
for sure. There's no question. Anytime, if I could be on your podcast, I don't know if that would be appropriate, but boy, I would
Mhm.
love to talk more. I love
Whew,
talking to you.
you're
And
amazing. I can't wait. Can't wait.
anytime you want to talk offline, privately, you want to unpack something or hash something out, I'm really good for that. I'm a vault and I do it for
Mm.
lots of my friends and I'm happy to do it. I do it while I'm painting and it's my favorite form of procrastination.
That's amazing. I'll take you up on that. But then we need to see how the meeting turns out. I mean,
Yes.
I don't want to be held responsible for that.
No, no, no. I got you. Love you so much, dude.
So,
Love you. And we'll talk again soon.
yeah, looking forward to it.
Bye, honey.